The idea of the school in the beginning was Kurt Hahn's and Desmond Hoare's idea that young men living together would learn to form relationships so you would avoid another European war. And that sounds very kind of dramatic, but it felt that we were ambassadors for a new beginning. About half would have been English and Welsh, and the rest were from Sweden, Germany, France, Holland, America, Canada. It was my first experience, really, of being with people from other countries. And I think that the idea that you know somebody as an individual, not as a German, a Dutchman, a Frenchman, means that you avoid the cliches and the prejudices.
The first day was very unusual because, first of all, Atlantic College is in a very special location. I had come from a background which, wasn't used to that type of spectacular setting. So I was duly overwhelmed. The reason it was radical in those days was that it basically said normal formal academic education needs to be complemented by two things. One, physical exercise, and the second thing was having a social impact. So those exercise activities, whether it's cliff rescue or inshore lifeboats or canoe rescue or whatever it was, they all had a social rationale. And this was very unusual because most schools were really committed to the academic outcomes. And here we had a school which was much more interested in the total human being rather than purely the brain. And that attracted me enormously.
So it did have that sense of an objective, but I think because it was so new, there was a lot of experiment and trying things out. Nobody really knew quite what to do. And when you go to a place where there are no rules, there is no tradition, you really have to work that out for yourself. And I think for me, that was what made life really exciting. The timetable for the day in the weekdays was up at 7:30 for a morning swim, whatever the weather was. So we ran down the steps in snow and ice and cold weather. You then studied from 9 till 1, and then from 2 o'clock onwards it was rescue service till 5:30, and then you had 2 hours of homework, private study. And then there was a coffee bar which was run by a man called Dante, a Welsh Italian. So the coffee bar was called Dante's Inferno, and after homework everybody gathered there, drank coffee, and quite a lot of boys smoked. So yeah, that was the kind of social place.
It just continued to get more unusual in my mind because it was a very different atmosphere to what I was used to. It was much more open. It was a very rich environment in terms of the multiplicity of social and economic backgrounds. And that was mirrored by the fact that everybody had a point of view. Whether it was right or not didn't really matter. It was that there was a lot of discussion almost immediately. The Cold War was alive and well. There were Middle Eastern problems in Israel. And so all of these formed very vibrant discussions, which is part of the attraction, certainly at that time, of of AC, because you really got quite strong views from people coming from very different parts of the world, where there were serious differences about really important political or social issues. A debate was encouraged. And I think that was really terribly exciting, but also very, very educational. And that was enormously refreshing, in the sense that we were talking about issues which, frankly, were not even thought about in my previous schools. And that was pretty much life-changing. The whole of Atlantic College was life-changing, in the sense that all of these different experiences caused you to think very fundamentally about what's important to you. And the fact is that by the time I finished Atlantic College, I was not the same individual as when I went into it, by a long shot.